Welcome to the Echo Essentials podcast.
My name is Chris Pekarski.
And I'm Dave Dale.
All right, Dave. You watched the debate, right?
Yeah.
First impressions, what do you think?
I think Keller edged Rochefort as far as the mechanics of a debate and the points and his performance. She was close. She was good. Both of them were much better prepared and at ease than Valerie Kennedy.
Fair. And it's important to note that there was supposed to be 4 of them last night.
Yeah.
And obviously last night there was only 3. Mm-hmm. So Valerie Kennedy, Pauline Rochefort, and Gary Keller. Louise from the Green Party wasn't able to make it. And so obviously there was a missing podium, but they read off her, I guess, like I said, letter address, along with John Classens, who is from PPC. But he didn't have a podium spot reserved for him. So
I think that was a shame. They should have had the local PCP candidate there, especially if there was a cancellation from the Green. I had a chance to sit down and talk to Mr. Jansen, and we had an interesting discussion.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. We went right into, and I'm hoping we can get him here in the Echo. I'm not sure. Has he responded to invites?
I can't confirm or deny, but there has been an invitation.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. I know he's he works and he's trying to mix things up, but yeah. So I hate to see an empty podium when there's another candidate that could have stood in there. Unfortunate. I thought it was a good debate.
I thought it was interesting. If I'm being honest, I thought the hour, it was very fast. Mm-hmm. And for those who didn't know, again, it aired on Kojiko and it was premiered on YouTube at 7 o'clock. On your TV. That's where I watched it. Mm-hmm. It was a very tight hour. I imagine it was very fast. You could tell that it was pretty raw in terms of like showing the bulk of the content in like a really professional way, of course, but like they didn't really edit anything out, right? I mean, it was all pretty much packaged and included. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was a good debate. I thought sometimes I wish there was a little more that could have been, gone past the surface level, but you could tell they were all excited, maybe a little nervous. But you could tell there was an opportunity, right? They wanted to kind of see who would become the person who would replace Anthony Rota, right?
They were just getting into some of their answers and they get cut off. And it seemed like they didn't see the time. So there was it was a little awkward a couple of times. They were like, Clark had to, cut them off mid-sentence.
Yeah.
And that's always tough. That can rattle somebody. And I can see how that would work.
And you know what's weird is that I think in the context of a debate, it's so hard because there's so many things that you want to include, structure-wise, content-wise. So it's going to be kind of like this was missing, right? And so I think I have to, give props for them all being there, for them even doing one. I think that shows a lot of, community access, showing that, they're here to talk to, our area. But yeah, I think there was times where I would have been like, oh, okay, I want to get into this topic a little bit more. And I really wanted to get into some of the how, like, I'm trying to remember one topic in particular. I think the one that a lot of the local headlines today kind of ran with was, I think it was Gary addressing Pauline regarding East Ferris taxes and how that looked like. And you could tell, again, I know Gary. He's connected to my family, and so I've been watching his career for a while. And he's done spots on TV and spots on radio and kind of like debate politics. So you could tell he kind of had his teeth elsewhere. Like he knew what he was doing going in there, and he kind of knew, talking points and attacking points. And so where people say he came off very strong, I think that's what they're kind of talking about.
Yeah, that's fair game. She's mayor, and that's what you have to go by. I think Pauline actually handled that fairly well.
I did too.
Right?
I did too.
So like he got his shots in. All of us in East Ferris, where I live, right? We know our taxes are going up. Not significantly, and in comparison to others. And I had a shot there about what you get for your taxes out in municipal when you're out in the township like we are.
Right.
So, I have probably a house that the insurance assesses at the replacement of $350 or something like that, $375. I pay about $2,400 in municipal tax. Mm-hmm. But I live on the highway. I get garbage pickup.
Yep.
I have a township that has they're pretty serious about their building permits and stuff like that. So they protect the value of what's going on. So they have the infrastructure a township needs. I know how hard it is for a medium-sized community to finance things.
Yep.
You still have the fire. You have OPP, which is not cheap. You have other things that you want, and we're stretched out. So I don't think East Ferris is doing a bad job. They're a well-run township. They used to be a little bit more like the Wild West out there, right? And they've evolved, and that costs money, and you got to hire good talent. And I think, somewhere, anyways.
I could see you with the cowboy hat out there, honestly, the Wild West of East Ferris.
Yeah, well, you can get like that for sure. And the politics used to be like that, very much so.
Okay.
So for her to survive in that environment as mayor and still have a good reputation and is known as a decent leader. So anyways, Gary went there. Yeah. So that's what you get. You have some people going to stand up for her. I was driving around lots on the weekend delivering the Back in the Bay magazine. And I saw in the outskirts whose signs are where and how many, right? All Nipissing Township, East Ferris, all the way out to Bondfield. And there's a lot of blue signs. The Liberals are not out of the picture as far as the signs. They're pretty close. But there's a lot more blue than I expected. So there's something cooking.
Right. And I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this one because I'm seeing a lot more, especially lately. I think Pauline got out early, obviously, earlier than Gary. But I'm seeing more and more signs, especially, in the areas which I travel for work and live. You're seeing more and more. And so I'm wondering, I don't know if the debate's going to really change a lot in terms of like the polling slider. But I mean, do you think, talk about the vote splitting, strategic voting stuff, right? Do you think Val, took any slice out of the pie from Pauline that would push Gary closer to, being the candidate?
No, she didn't, and her party leader hasn't, and the NDP aren't even in the game.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, people are doing strategic voting, even on the Conservative side. I was talking to a PPC supporter who would normally, just this morning on the way in, he would normally vote PPC. That's what he would. He's not. He's voting Conservative. He wants resources to be developed. And he has his reasons for doing that, and all that other anti-Trudeau, the globalist stuff, whatever they can figure they can paint on Carney as a banker or whatever.
Yeah,
it's funny. I told him, I'm not convinced yet there because Carney's a small man in a big suit there and sits at boardrooms, and that's what my dad did. So I kind of and he's like, "What?" I was just trolling him, but
I mean, there's something to this though, and I want to talk about the NDP a bit before we cut into the episode. Last time I checked, I think they were polling fourth total, maybe 9 I think projected seats federally. That's a pretty big drop off in the last several elections for NDP. And Val was very candid with us when she talked with us about what that looks like, but very optimistic. And I think this will be a really good conversation for our post-election wrap up. But what's the future of NDP, right? Was, these numbers, is the debate last night, any indicator of where they're going?
Yeah. I like Val. I think she comes from a good place. She's very genuine. She's been, diehard NDP unionist, a grandmother, very, very dedicated, very sensitive and supportive of Indigenous issues. Very obviously passionate about helping the downtrodden, right? All those good things. But our first past the post situation has people in a different mindset. And the NDP are going to have to find a new leader.
I think they're going to have to find their new voice. I think, and this is something I talked to you about before, with the Liberals kind of like hedging their bets federally, kind of being more of like a centrist kind of party and platform. The NDP kind of have an opportunity coming forward, depending on whoever gets in, Liberal or Conservative, to kind of be like that new voice, to be like, okay, well, here's the change, here's something different. We get to have like that left political spectrum, have a voice instead of being somewhere in the middle or being on the right. They have an opportunity, but it's just not this election.
No, I don't think they were prepared to play this role, and they didn't really want to hitch the wagon to the Liberals because they were going down. So nobody really saw this Trump impact on galvanizing and uniting the left and center, right? We'll see. We'll see. Polyev is trying to change his tune now, and they just had that French show debate.
Yes.
Yeah, they were both on
yeah.
this show, and it was very important. And apparently, it was kind of like nobody had bombed and nobody really won. It was good for both.
Mm-hmm. And there is some upcoming debates still, I believe, this week, right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there one tomorrow and potentially Thursday? Tomorrow being Wednesday.
Well, this is airing Thursday, so I'm.
That's correct.
Kind of
we're talking time. But this week. Or whenever it be.
Yeah, we're going to have more meat to inspect this week. We're going to see what the leaders do when they're debating in English and French officially, and we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping there's another opportunity to hear more from the locals, but I think the path is set.
Yeah, I mean, from the time of this recorded, we're basically 2 weeks out, just short of 2 weeks out.
Yeah, April 15th, so we're 13 days away from the vote.
So where it gets pretty crucial, right? This is where the crunch happens. So.
Yeah, and so I think both the Liberals and Conservatives locally in this riding, Nipissing, Timiskaming, and both of them know they have to work hard right to the last minute. Neither of them are going to feel comfortable. They shouldn't, anyways. I don't think. I think
it's tighter than maybe we realize.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the countrywide polling might be a bit different, but I think for our local area, I think it's going to be very, very tight.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Northern Ontario specific poll. That would be cool.
We can look this up, actually. I looked it up a little bit during when I was 2 different monitors looking up and watching the debate, seeing comparative numbers and over time projections. I forget the website, and maybe we'll put it back in later. But it's close. It's very close.
All right. Well, let's hear from Valerie Kennedy, the NDP candidate for Nipissing Timiskaming. Here we go. Today, our guest is NDP candidate for Nipissing Timiskaming, Valerie Kennedy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege.
Yeah, it's great to have you in, and we've been talking back and forth for a bit, and it's so nice to have you in the studio and talk a bit about what's going on, a bit about yourself. So can you maybe introduce to the listener who you are?
Absolutely. So I'm Valerie Kennedy, NDP candidate for Nipissing Timiskaming, and I am actually from Englehart. I worked on the Ontario Northland Railway for 40 years. I started when I was a baby. No, just kidding. 40 years. So in that 40 years, probably for 25 to 26 years, I was a union leader, women's advocate, on the political action committee. So it really, really got me ready to do some politics because I know how to take care of people and how to raise them up and making sure that everyone gets their fair share.
Right. Poised for it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about this before the show, Dave, and maybe I'll toss this to you about the district or the riding changing, right? And so recently, was it 2022? It was redrawn to include Englehart, right?
It sure was. So I was actually in Charlie Angus's riding, and when he decided he was going to step down, I said, someone with integrity and strength and empathy has got to run, and that's me.
There you go.
Yeah. So I do have I have 2 children. My son is an environmental engineer, and my daughter is a teacher, and I have 7 grandchildren. So
congratulations!
I live a good life.
Very
my
good.
husband is a massage therapist in Englehart with a small business. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
What do you hope to achieve in this campaign other than getting elected?
Well, Northern Ontario runs through my veins. It's part of who I am. And my real concern is definitely taking care of all of Nipissing Timiskaming from Mattawa to North Bay to Charlton. It's a big riding, but I feel very comfortable in this riding. It is my home. I did live in North Bay for some summers. And again, I do live in Englehart, but because of my travel within the Ontario Northland Railway from North Bay to Moosonee, I've got that covered. And I also spent a lot of summers in Mattawa, and I was there last week, and it just brings back great memories for me.
Yeah. So if I can, actually, that's a nice little opportunity to kind of pivot in terms of the geography of the area.
It's pretty big.
The campaign trail is pretty long, right? So can you tell me a bit about how that's been going so far?
It's been going great. So I've spent the last week and a half probably in North Bay, door knocking, meeting people in the businesses, doing lots of phone calls. And you know what? It's been really great. This is a beautiful community, just like all of our northern communities. People are really open, and they just want to know how they're going to be taken care of. And the majority of folks are working class people, and they want to know, how are we going to do? How are we going to do in this election? And I come from the working class. So my philosophy is definitely taxing the rich, the billionaires, so all Canadians can be taken care of. Our unhoused situation is really bad, and I feel that unhoused people, what happens is they're unhoused, no dignity, mental illness, addiction, and it's a circle, and it's not going to stop until the NDP party does stop it by taxing the rich. Making sure that money stays in Canada and everyone has a little house to live in. Doesn't have to be big. We're not, rich people. And a little fridge in their house so they can have a sandwich and have some dignity. Healthcare, of course, is our big issue. And I know that people are saying, well, you went with the Liberals. We went with the Liberals because we wanted dental care for people that had, so they could smile and have dignity and have, diabetes medication and, stuff like that. That's really important. That's why we did it. So people, when they think that we did that, we didn't join the party. We just knew that the Liberals and the PCs were not going to take care of our dental. And it's very important because healthcare down the road with dental is huge. I mean, they detect cancer in your mouth. It's, for your heart issues. Dental is just super important. And we're just so proud that we were able to accommodate that.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you guys have anything to do with the $10 daycare?
$10 daycare. Well, we're all about taking care of families, right? Mm-hmm. So insofar as $10 daycare, let's hope that really does happen. That it really does take effect because our children need to be taken care of. We're in a different era where one person could actually have an income and, we only needed one income. But that's not the case anymore. When you're raising a family, everyone has to work and we have to have daycare that's affordable so we can all make a decent wage, not have to just work in precarious work, 3 jobs, Mm-hmm. Let's get our act together and have work that's paid properly so we can take care of our families.
Okay, interesting. And if I can, I want to continue on that because the rising cost of living, something I think we're all looking at. And in terms of how it's affecting, folks in Northern Ontario, like what are they saying to you in terms of like their biggest challenges and what can the NDP and yourself do to combat that?
Well, definitely the grocery prices. I mean, you go into the grocery store and this is a big thing is that you see our seniors and our elders who have worked real hard to create this beautiful country we live in, pushing a cart and looking for things that are 50% off, maybe 2 or 3 items. That's shameful. We need to raise the income of our folks that are on disability, pensions that are hardly getting by, which I can have a personal issue. My sister is disabled, and she hardly gets by. It's through no fault of her own. Mm-hmm. She was born with a disability and doesn't have car access, and we have to raise the values of our folks and take care of them. And you know what? And so far as businesses, I'm all about supporting businesses, and I'm also all supporting about people making money. But everyone needs to be taxed fairly. We're taxed hard. That has to go through, the billionaires and the millionaires. We have to be taxed properly to take care of our folks, to stop the unhoused. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go.
What's the level of millionaire that needs to be taxed more that isn't being taxed properly?
Millionaire, there's a few of us now. Not a few, not me for sure, but there's a lot of millionaires out there. So I'm going, maybe if you're making $10 million, don't hide your money in another country. But what I would like to see happen is that tax base is not hidden and it's shared through Canada. Everyone has to take care of our country. Mm-hmm.
One of the things we talked about before, but is important, is that it looks like the NDP have lost some union support, and it makes me wonder why. Okay,
so I'm a very big union activist, as you can imagine. I've been doing it. Oh, that's actually what got me ready for politics. So you have to be straight with working people. You have to tell the truth. You can't deviate from the truth. You have to have integrity. And as far as unions go, that is the integrity of the NDP. unions and NDP and the NDP work together. They're synchronicity. They care about the workers. They care about, and that's the reason we have a 40-hour work week. Medicare benefits, it's super important that we all have it. And I understand small businesses can't have unions, but the places that have unions, they need to support each other. And no one who works for a union is a millionaire. No one that I know of, that's for sure. So we all have to get to the level that we are working class. Let's take care of one another. Because a lot of people right now could be a month away from losing their homes. And when you look at our auto workers, because we're north, we're not thinking about our, the auto industry. But let me tell you, when the auto industry in Canada is affected, we're all affected. And there's folks there that their spouses, they both work at the auto industry, and they could be losing their homes. So we have to make sure we stand up and take care of our people that are now laid off. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've seen unions south of the border and Southern Ontario endorsing non-NDP candidates. Mm-hmm. I'm just still trying to figure out that. I wonder if you have any insight.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about that philosophy too. So it's really important, you look at your union collective agreement, realizing that a collective agreement is not only just about a union, but it's also about the company working together. So let's look at our collective agreements. Let's educate ourselves and see what the union has actually done for you. And definitely, as I said, the NDP has got a union background and a union philosophy. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm not sure why people aren't back in the NDP, because they definitely should when they're unionized workers. Because that's our base, mm-hmm. is the working class.
I guess that's the mystery that has to be solved there, to try to regain that support, right? Mm-hmm. And there's got to be reasons for it. I think our example south of the border, we have a lot of unions down there that regret back in Trump realizing that he wasn't actually coming to the table with policies that were going to actually work, and they're going to pay a steep price for that. So maybe that might wake up some people to, mm-hmm. Who they're backing and why. Mm-hmm. This riding is traditionally liberal, mm-hmm. And it seems like it's a very polarized election where Canadians are galvanized against the threats coming from the South. Have you heard people talking about, well, I do like and support the NDP, but I want to make sure the Liberals get in, or something like that? Mm-hmm. Have you heard that at the doors?
Oh yes.
What are you hearing at the doors?
That is exactly what I'm hearing at the doors. But it's all about strategic voting. And, mm-hmm. A lot of people are in fear of Poilievre. I mean, they are. They're looking at Trump and they're looking at Poilievre and going, okay, we're scared. People are scared. So I'm trying to take that fear away by making sure that we're voting NDP for the people. And you know what? If in fact the Liberals get in, and chances are they will, we're going to work side by side. We're never going to be gone. The NDP will never be gone. We're part of the history of this beautiful nation. We'll never disappear. Our voices are going to be loud and are always going to be heard. But I can tell you, I am for the working people. I'm for business, and I'm definitely for opening up our country. For example, they talk about pipelines, east-west. My dad was a pipeliner. So insofar as that goes, that would take years, and a lot of permission, for the Indigenous community as well, right? So that would take years. So I'm saying I'm a railroader. Deep down, one's a railroader, always a railroader. Let's just put that oil on tank cars, which are made in Canada. The rail's already there. It's not rocket science. Let's just move it that way and not worry about pipelines. And, of course, opening up our provinces so our doctors and our valued skilled trades workers don't have to get a license in every province. Open it up. I want to drink the wine from the Okanagan, and I want to eat lobster from the Atlantic folks. And also, that will lift Canada by supporting each other. When it comes to lumber, let's just cut down those trees, not, where we're supposed to, not in provincial parks or national parks like the states might be. Cut the trees, fix, make the lumber, build the houses. It's not rocket science. We have very good skilled trades here in Canada. Let's utilize them. Let's build our own homes. And as far as the mining goes, we live in Northern Ontario. Should be the richest part of the world. We are not, because what's happened is our natural resources are taken out of Northern Ontario and then shipped to Bay Street. The profits are Bay Street. Or else they're possibly sold to foreign countries, and our taxpayer dollars have paid to start most of those mines. And hard work of our forefathers who've worked in those mines, and even our young folks now that are working in our mines. The communities need to profit from our mining and our natural resources.
As a former educator, or as a
Yes.
current educator, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. Do you find you have to use a lot of those elements in terms of educate the public on certain things, certain truths, certain things happening right now in our landscape regarding either what the world we see at large, or your platform, or what they're throwing back at you in terms of how's that conversation look?
Okay, so in the school system, I'm privileged to be able to work with children, primary grades. But what I've been doing is teaching them a bit about civics, because you know what? They don't know enough about civics. They don't know how the importance of municipalities, how that brings your community up, and how provincial legislation works, and then federal. So I'm really trying to educate our young people on civics, because this is their country, and they need to know. And they need to know at an early age. They also need to know how to budget, how to communicate, because there's a lot of tech out there, right? So we want to make sure these children are socialized, because we do have some young teachers that are really having a hard time in the social, being social. It's almost impossible for them. It's hard.
Yeah.
And we have to educate not just our children, but everyone about how this country is run. And shame on us for not doing that enough, because, a lot of people do say, is this a federal election or is this a provincial election? Shame on us for not letting them know what we do.
And we talked to a guest on the show this week about voter turnout and what that looks like. And I think maybe part of that might be tied to understanding what kind of election this is, and how historic it might be, and educating what's at stake, and in terms of strategically getting out there, and reaching certain parts to talk about those things. What's the strategy? How do you plot that out?
Well, for me personally, I'm going to the community. I'm going to the businesses. I'm going to seniors' homes. I had the privilege, absolute privilege, to go to the hospice in North Bay, and to see that place. If you have not gone to a hospice, because I was a bit nervous because I didn't really know what to expect. Well, because of this community, that is like a high-end hotel, and in your last days, it's unbelievable. It's peaceful. You walk in and it's like a ray of light, opposed to negativity, and the staff is unbelievable. So supporting these things is super important. I know that they need a lot of volunteers, and they also need a lot of money every year. So we need to get out and support those things in our community. Not sure if that's exactly what you asked me, but this is a good thing.
Yeah.
So getting out into the community is the big thing. You have to door knock, and you have to talk to people. You have to go to where they are.
Right.
And that's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good, because it's interesting to hear about every party and candidate's strategy of hitting the road. Whether it's digital first, or it's door to door, or it's going to businesses. Everyone has a different way of doing it, right?
Right. You know what? I've had really good reception at the doors, and that makes me feel good. They said, you know what? No one's ever come to my house. I've never seen a candidate. No one's ever come to my house. So I have been doing a lot of door knocking. And you have to, like I say, you have to talk to people. You have to go to business. You have to go to big companies. I'll be hitting Georgia Pacific. I did a tour at the Ontario Northland. These are important things, because these build our community.
Yeah.
And if anyone else wants me to go somewhere, I'm all in. I'm in. Yeah.
It's fair. I mean, for me, the barriers of connecting with person or party or group, if someone calls me and I don't recognize the number, I'm probably not going to answer it. If someone rings on my doorbell, I'm going to have to take a look who it is first, right? And so there's different things over the course of the last several years, different generations, that changes how that impact and how that interaction works.
Right.
Right.
So when you're going to doors, the majority of doors have the little camera on them, so they can see who it is, right?
Yep,
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. The knocking really isn't happening. It's the ringing of that bell. Yeah. And you know what? The majority of people are coming out. This is important. people who don't think that it's important to vote, your vote matters. No matter who you vote for, you must get out and vote. It's your right, it's your privilege, and we have to get out in droves to get to make your message. If you want to have a voice, the only way you're going to have a voice is to vote. 100%.
Val, your earrings have Indigenous connotations.
Yes.
What is behind that, and what is your relationship with Indigenous communities?
Okay. Coming from the north, I actually did live in Kenora for a while. And I've lived all over the north, but primarily my home is, of course, Northern Ontario. The Indigenous community is super important to the north, especially all over Canada. But because I'm close to the north, I realize how important it is. And when the Indigenous people rise, as Canadians, we're all going to rise. We're all going to rise up because they know about the environment. It's not rocket science for them. They know what to do with the environment. They know how to take care of the environment. So that, through education, for everybody in all schools, is super important. When they rise up, we will rise up. Yep.
Well, where we often say that about Nipissing First Nation here is the better it does, the better North Bay and Sturgeon Falls does, right?
Absolutely. And no matter where you are, Timiskaming is going to be the next Muskoka. I'm positive of it. I don't know if Timiskaming people want that, but I'm telling you, it is the gem of the North. Timiskaming, if you have not been on Lake Timiskaming, you're missing something. And actually, there's a group that's trying to make Timiskaming a UNESCO site. Yeah, which is amazing. It is super, it's beautiful. We just live in the best country. And coast to coast to coast to coast, we need to take care of our folks. And as far as, all the tariffs and stuff like that go, that's bad because it's affecting our workers right now. It's affecting them. But you know what it's going to do? It's going to make us stronger. We're going to manufacture things in Canada. We're going to look for different places to ship things to. We're just going to go arm in arm, elbows up, strength all the way, because no one will call us the 51st state. It's just not going to happen. Not in our lifetime, not now, not ever. We've got a pretty strong Indigenous community. We've got beautiful French Canadians, and none of us are ever going to let that happen. Yeah.
Do you speak French by chance?
Parlez-vous français? Comment ça va? A little bit. But I'm working every day. Every day. My daughter is a French teacher. All of my grandchildren, which I have 7 of, speak French. My son speaks French. Yeah, I am learning every single day. It's a hard one to learn.
It's tough. I have 180 days on Duolingo.
But I'm really working every day. Duolingo every day.
I'm trying my best.
I know,
it's
every
tough.
day. When that little ad comes up, on Duolingo, it kind of drives you crazy.
Nice gentle reminder.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I actually take, whenever I have the opportunity to walk into a French class in the school that I'm at, I just sit there, listen, take it all in. I do absolutely know French, but I don't think you'd want to listen to it.
I worked up in Kapuskasing and couldn't pick it up, so people were very... They allowed me to speak English and requested I stop trying.
That would be me French right now, but yeah. I guarantee you that I will definitely. That's a big goal for me.
You have another connection to North Bay. There's a cold case. Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. So my uncle and my aunt went missing in Trout Lake many, many, many years ago. And I'm telling you, they searched always looking for them in hopes that they would find them. And I think it was like 35 or 40 years later, they found them. And because Trout Lake is very cold, they were actually arm in arm with the motor of the boat on the bottom of the lake. And that motor actually, hard to believe, but at where I live, at a little lake, I have that same motor. When I saw it, was like, wow.
Not the exact motor,
no,
but
it was the same company.
Well, that's wild.
I think it was Evinrude or something. But anyway, it's a very cool story, and it's definitely in our history books.
Yeah,
they were the Campbells, and my brother was named after my uncle, who passed away. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know this until we sat down today, and it's interesting because When I first heard about this, I'm like, oh, this is something you'd see on like TV or like something that would be like, you know, like a deep dive podcast on a different kind of show. And then when I heard, like, it was probably like a year later after I heard about it, that it was actually solved. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. There's so much history about North Bay in my own area that I have no idea about.
Right.
And so it's cool to see the connections and the history involved.
It is. So that was the Campbell family. So I'm related to some folks in North Bay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a kind of cool story.
Back to the politics. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget that. But Englehart, Nilisker, a very important part of Ontario for more than just the cobalt, right? Tell us about how that is an important part of our riding and why it makes sense for North Bay, Mattawa, and the Nilisker area to be connected.
Okay, so we have two major industries in Englehart, and one being Georgia Pacific, which is a OSB board plant, which ships everywhere. It was Grants, but now transferred over to Georgia Pacific. A lot of employees, major employer for Englehart. And, of course, the Ontario Northland Railway, which, you know, I'm very proud to say that I've worked there for 40 years. I was the first woman in transportation. And since then, wow, there's a lot of women there now. It's a great place. That is the hub of the Ontario Northland Railway. And people may not know that, but the reason it's the hub is because the train comes in from the south to Englehart, and then it's separated. So some goes to Rouyn-Noranda, Quebec, Cochrane, Kidd Creek. So, and then when all those trains come back, they're made up, and then they send them to North Bay in perfect order. We are the hub of the Ontario Northland Railway, and the Ontario Northland has just built a huge shop in Englehart, so the Northlander hopefully will be able to go right in there when that actually hits the rails. Let's pray for that. I've been fighting long and hard for that. So within the ONRs, in my career there, the Progressive Conservatives put the Ontario Northland up for sale to divest it. And needless to say, that was a hard no on the employees and the communities. So we won that battle. And then the Liberals decided to take our Northlander train away. This is a provincial item, but it's pretty close to my heart. So I fought long and hard. Charlie Angus, John Vantoff, myself, community members rode that last train. And that was a sad day, a real sad day. So I am optimistic that it's going to come back. The train cars were built in California. Could have been made in Canada, but I don't know what's going to happen now. But supposedly that passenger train that we desperately need is going to hit the rail in 2026.
I know you said it's a provincial issue, but you said 2026, right?
2026,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
It is a provincial issue, but it's a Canadian-wide issue because we need passenger rail service across this country.
It's also like a Northern Ontario issue. I mean, there's so much space and there's so much land you have to traverse. Like you talked about Kenora. Well, Kenora isn't a hop skip away from North Bay. It's a drive. It's a significant drive.
That's right.
And so having areas to connect all these communities
together
in Northern Ontario and just in Ontario in general and Canada in general,
right,
very important.
It is very important. I mean, we do have a great bus service. Don't get me wrong, but if on our Moose Trail highways up to the north, the 2 lanes that are closed probably 3 days a week from transport accidents. And these aren't accidents that you hurt your neck. These are fatalities, and it's on the regular. So John Vantoff, of course, a huge proponent to fix those highways, is working hard, and I 100% along with him will be doing that. I know the importance of transports. I totally understand it. They connect our country, but let's get some of those trailers off of the roads and put them on the train, and make it a little easier to drive. Because when I drove up here, there was like 40 transports, at minimum 40 transports. And also, of course, making sure that everyone is licensed properly across this country. You don't get a transport license out of a Cracker Jack box. It's got to be federally regulated. We've got to make sure that all of our transport drivers are safe, so our families are safe on the highway. With the passenger train coming back, that's going to help our community in Moosonee by linking them to be able to get on the train like they used to go to an appointment in Toronto. Because right now they have to get on a bus. If you're in a wheelchair trying to get on a bus, that's kind of awkward. It should have never happened, ever, should we have lost our passenger train, but I'm pretty happy that we are going to be getting that back.
Okay. I mean, I've heard stories from former colleagues who do work up, near Georgian Bay.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories about the ice road, and that alone is like, as a fascination point, that's a challenge. It's a significant challenge, right?
The ice road to Moosonee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They do use that in the winter, but they don't use it in the summer. I mean, when they had De Beers mines up there, they used that ice road for a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I think you said Georgian Bay instead of James Bay.
James Bay?
I said Georgian Bay.
Yeah, you said Georgian Bay.
James
You meant
Bay.
James
Excuse
Bay,
me.
yeah.
Sorry, James Bay.
That's okay.
Yes.
It's all good.
No, Georgian Bay is
all learning.
a little different.
Yeah, we still need trains no matter where we are.
It's true. We're going north.
Well, even the people in North Bay and New Liskeard want that passenger train so they can make their appointments in Toronto. It's and of course we've mismanaged our railway system and closed lines that we will need if we want to actually emphasize rail traffic. Of course, if long haul trucking was required to use rail instead, that would make the highways safer.
Environmentally friendlier. Of course, that needs some more investment in the rail and the beds and the bridges, right? Well, we're regulated under Transport Canada, so, I mean, our rail is in good shape, really good shape. They've really spent money on improving our rail, especially now with Northlander
in the last
coming
20
back.
years, after it was, not torn up, right? And saving it.
Well, going into Timmins even, right? They did pull all the tracks up from Timmins, but now that they are going to have a passenger link going into Timmins, which is really the biggest city north of North Bay in Northern Ontario, right? So that's important. That's important that we get that service in for sure.
Any surprises on the knocking on the doors? Have you heard anything that just you didn't expect?
Yeah. Sometimes when you knock on a door, and I've been to a lot of events as well, the farm markets and the show out in calendar, and some people will, I just say, hey, I'm Val Kennedy. I'm the federal NDP candidate for Nipissing Timiskaming, which I'm privileged to be. I'm kind of open, and I have no problem talking about Liberal or PC. I have no problem with that. I'm not the kind that's going to hammer everybody. So I'm pretty open, and some people are pretty closed. They got the closed door, and that's okay. You just have to make sure that they vote. Do what you need to do, but make sure you vote. And I just tried to tell them my philosophy and our policies, and let it go from there. And you know what? It's going to hit people. And I can tell you for a fact that the majority of people, when I talk to them, and they've said that no one's ever come to see them, they're grateful, and they're called number ones. They are going to put their name on the ballot for me. And you can vote right now at Whitfield High School from 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night during the week. All you need is your driver's license, and you actually have to write the person's name down. It's kind of cool.
And so when does that close?
That'll probably close in around the 18th. I'm not positive about that, but it'll be out there. And you can go to Elections Canada, too, to find out any of that information.
Okay.
This thing is to get out and vote.
I wanted to ask what it's like to run a campaign. It's a fast campaign that wasn't hard to plan for. You knew there was possibly going to be an election in the spring. Your signs aren't quite as big as the other parties. So tell me what it's like, and what kind of help do you need, or what can people do to help you?
Well, I can tell you about the process of me becoming the candidate. There were two people running, Riley McTee out of Nipissing and myself. So I was vetted pretty hard, like everyone is vetted on the NDP, and rightly so.
I haven't heard anybody have to quit after announcing from your party. Has there been any? The other parties have lost a few people.
They've lost some people. They didn't vet them properly. But let me tell you, they vetted. So anyone who's out on social media, right from young people to seniors, be careful what you talk about on social media, because that might come back to bite you.
And how you talk about it,
and
right?
how you talk about it. And the kind of photos you put up. Just be careful, because you never know when you might be sitting in this chair talking about being a candidate.
Well, that's good advice, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very important, because I was vetted pretty hard, my whole family. So, you know what, I guess I'm good to go, even though I was Campbell and a Kennedy, so I'm good. So... Sorry, I'm kind of got sidetracked there. You were saying, the income, yeah. So the NDP, we're on a bit of a shoestring budget. I'm seeing as I drive around North Bay with my little wee signs, the nice orange signs, and then I look up and there's a billboard that's a billboard, and it's got like a huge picture, and I'm thinking, woof, we don't have that kind of budget. We have a working class budget. It's small, but we're doing the best we can. I've had volunteers just volunteer their time. People are coming out of the woodwork to help me. And that's important. I need volunteers. We need feet on the ground, boots on the ground, going door to door, talking to people, putting signs on their lawn. That's one thing that people don't want to do. They don't want to put signs on the lawn, because they worry about their neighbors. You know what? We live in a democratic society. You can put any sign up you want. It's important that you express who you are. Have a voice. We are on definitely a limited budget, and I think that isn't really fair, but it is what it is. I'm moving forward. It's not going to stop me for a minute.
What would you propose that would make it more fair?
Well, that they do put a limit on how much money can be spent on an election, and this is a quick one. So we had, we're trying to raise money from donators, but the PCs and the Liberals have got a whole stack of cash in their little envelopes because they're supported by billionaires, millionaires. We're not. We're the working class. So we get $50 where they might get $1,700. But you know what? Every dollar counts. So you can easily donate, or if you want to volunteer, get a sign, you can just go to Valerie Kennedy .ndp.ca and you can read up about me. And I would love to hear from you. My phone number that I have on our little cards, if you've received one, goes to straight to my campaign manager because we don't like 1-800 numbers, and I'll just read that out. Definitely have to put specs on for that, though. So the phone number for that is 705-221-6053, and I would be honored to talk to you. So if you want to give me a shout, call that number, and we can talk and debate.
Okay, great.
Right. Well, thanks a lot for coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's good to get to know you as a candidate and a person. Now we have a connection up in Englehart for any of the news that comes out of there.
That's right.
Right? And congratulations on your 40 years of working for the ONR and raising a family with grandchildren. That's not easy.
No.
And congratulations being able to do that.
Yes.
And to be able to take the energy you have and put it into a political purpose. That's very important. While it's a bit of a polarized election that looks like it's one or the other as far as the Conservatives and Liberals, the NDP, I've always thought, have been an important part of our democracy. I would hope that we go towards proportional representation so that in an election like this, you don't have to choose your vote and be strategic as much as you can give your support to the people that you feel that would be good representatives in the parties that need to have a voice there. So
that's right.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate
best
that.
of luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much. And do realize that it is a community. I'm here for the community. This is my region. And, however far it goes, I'm here to support everyone in Nipissing, Timiskaming, everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you
really
very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for checking out the Echo Essentials campaign election candidate profiles, and please like and share and put your comments underneath, and that'll help the algorithm and generate more discussion. It's better if everybody gets to know everybody that's running and what they stand for.